Marto Lea was sick of being indecisive, so she flipped a coin for 6 years to make every decision for her. Today, we will find out where it took her. Before that though, I need to say thank you. Thank you for watching the very first WOAH That's Insane YouTube video. At WOAH That's Insane, we want to share the extraordinary things that happen to ordinary people. We're on TikTok too. Although TikTok, that content relies a little more heavily on unsolved and solved, lesser known true crime stories. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Marto Lea was born in Eden, a beautiful, picturesque coastal town in New South Wales in Australia. The waters in Eden seem just a little bluer than some of the other coastal towns in New South Wales, Australia, and that caters really well to what brings the tourists to Eden in the first place, and that is whale watching. Each spring, humpback whales glide through Eden on their way back to Antarctica. When Marto was 13 years old, she found a new best friend in a girl her age called Kater. Marto describes Kater as being a huge bright light in the world. The kind of person that really lights up the whole room when she walks in. That's the kind of person that Kater was to Marto. They would skateboard as much as they could together. They loved each other and they stuck together through thick and thin. However, after almost a decade of friendship, Kater passed away. Marto was inconsolable. For 2 whole years, she found herself not being able to do anything. And even though she had a strong support system around her, in family and friends, there was something missing. It felt like Kater had left this huge hole in Marto's life, and Marto had no idea how to fill it. Marto felt like everything in her life had suddenly stopped. And suddenly, the woman who was so open and so giving and so adventurous because of Kater's influence seemed like she was slipping away. And she began to feel like she was closing up and becoming more indecisive about who she wanted to be and what she wanted to do for the rest of her life. It led her to not being able to effectively move forward with her own life. And every single time that she tried to make a decision, she found that she was being indecisive and over-analytical. So she'd try to make the other decision and she felt like she was being indecisive and over-analytical. Marto desperately wanted to be able to enjoy the moment again. She desperately wanted to not feel so pent up. And all she needed was one more thing to happen to her for her to say, that's it. And that event came not long after, as Marto's partner unexpectedly walked out on her. Marto remembers in that moment feeling sick of being overwhelmed, sick of not knowing what to do, sick of not knowing how to move forward. So she decided to tap into that part of her brain that her and Kater utilized so effectively for so long. And that was analyzing things through the eyes of a child. She tapped into the part of her brain that made her not care. She needed something more and was willing to do at this point whatever it took to be able to achieve something more for herself. And she was willing to set no limitations as to what that might look like. So she started saving money, she got 3 jobs, and she traveled to Thailand. She came home and she decided that that was fantastic. She had a new lease on life. She didn't want it to end. She wanted to go everywhere. She wanted to do everything. And most importantly, she wanted to stop overthinking everything. But here came her first challenge of not overthinking things. She became indecisive of what to do and where to go next. And what she did in this moment shaped the next 6 years of her life. She flipped a coin to make the decision for her. Although it isn't known where the initial flip took her, when she came home, she was so excited knowing that she could do this to make decisions that usually she wouldn't be able to make herself. She said, you know what? This seems like fate and I'm gonna do this for everything. Yes, everything. She decided to flip again to see where she'd travel next. Would it be Laos or would it be Cambodia? Cambodia. By the time she got there, she was very low on money, so she found herself playing music in Cambodian bars to ensure that she had beer and she had a feed for the night. In those moments, she found herself extremely thankful that she had a musical ability and could use that and trade that for what she so desperately needed, which was food and beer. Eventually, she got enough money that she could fly to Bangkok. While she was there, she met gold traders who would go to third world countries, collect gold, and bring them back to sell at an extreme profit in first world countries. And she thought that was so neat that these people had chosen a path in life that wasn't necessarily a 9 to 5, and it was something that they really wanted to be doing. She said, I would love to live the way that they live. She soaked in all of the beautiful scenes that Bangkok had to offer. In a way, it kind of felt like a new home. However, her trip to Bangkok, it wasn't all wonder and excitement. She had a bit of money now, but her accounts were still frozen and her money was locked in these accounts, so she found herself busking on the street multiple nights a week. She eventually landed herself in the United States of America, where she realized that she could really tap into her playing music and her skill to share her music and her art with the world. However, she didn't really know where to start with it, so she flipped a coin to see if she should or if she shouldn't try performing some of her music at Burning Man. And just like that, she was on her way. She flipped to hitchhike to Reno with a Californian couple on their way, stopping so that Marto could swim with some tigers based on a flip of a coin. It turned out to be an extremely memorable flip for other reasons as well, as Marto's partner at the time had a couple of connections and he managed to secure her a spot to perform at Burning Man. A week later, she flipped another coin to see if she should stay or if she should go to Australia. And just like that, she'd booked her flights to come back home. When she got to the airport, she flipped heads to see if she should hitch a ride or she flipped tails to see if she should catch a train. And it landed on tails without buying a ticket, jumped on a train to the sunny Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. While she was on the train, Marto distinctly remembers getting questioned by a ticket inspector because she hadn't bought a ticket. And Marto, in that moment, kind of flipped. Not a coin, she just flipped. In tears, she shouted at the ticket inspector, I've got no money. I've got no food. I haven't showered in a week. If you want to give me a fine, go for it. I don't even care anymore. Soon after, a man walked up to Marto and said, hey, I heard that all. I'm getting off at the next stop. I can take you to your house if you want. Marto remembers thinking, I was punched in Laos. I was followed intensely in Bangkok. And she's sizing this man up, looking at him up and down. And she eventually comes to the realization that I could probably take this guy if he tries anything. So she said yes to his offer and she was dropped off at her brother's house where she stayed. Soon after, from the flip of a coin of course, she was travelling up and down the east coast of Australia, eventually settling from Brisbane to Melbourne. This is the flip that in hindsight though, made her not want to flip anymore. But it wasn't because of anything bad, it was because she realised that suddenly she had the courage to make decisions for herself. She moved to Byron Bay to start her new life, and for the first time, it was her decision. And just like that, she'd given up on flipping. She always thought that it was courageous and brave to follow what the coin said. And while that may have been true at the time, she soon realized that it was giving away her power. And while it was 100% brave to follow a coin, it was braver to make decisions for herself. In her mind, she had finally made enough mistakes based on flips to be able to understand the thought processes behind all of her decisions. And because of that, she felt like she had the confidence now to be able to understand what decisions were the right ones and what decisions maybe aren't the ones to go with. Now, she was finding that she can make mistakes and not beat herself up because she made those mistakes. And she recognizes that she's not always going to get everything right, and that's totally okay and necessary. Marto says that flipping a coin for every decision over a period of 6 years adversely affected the way that she viewed life, and it changed the outlook on what her life could be. As can be seen, we're truly one decision away from a completely different life if we choose that we want one. She now says, working her 9 to 5, owning her own business, that she lives one of the happiest lives in the world. Although she does sometimes miss standing in the middle of the road, in the middle of a country she's never been in, and flipping a coin as to whether to go left or right. When I asked Marto if she would do this all again, she screamed yes. When I asked her what gave her the courage to do something like this, she said, cater. And when I asked what advice she could give to people who feel like that they're in a similar situation and quite indecisive, she didn't mention a coin once. All she said was, you know what brings you joy. Just do that. And that is the story of Marto Lea. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this very first video from Whoa, That's Insane. Make sure to check out our TikTok, and I'm sure there are plenty more videos here on YouTube for you to watch of ordinary people having extraordinary things happen to them. Have a good day.